On this podcast, we share a nuanced view on discussions involving relationships, self growth, and perspective. I'm 27 years old, and every week I'm joined by a counterpart. This week, I'm joined by another 29-year-old female. Right off the bat, Erika, what do you do for a living?
Hi, first of all, thanks for having me on. I am a mother, first and foremost. So I have two kids. I have a 4-year-old girl and a 1-year-old boy, and I'm a full-time mom to them. And then I also teach dance. So dance is my passion. And right now I'm teaching a ladies team, but I've also taught many other styles, bachata, salsa, ballroom for about 10 years.
10 years. So you've been teaching
Yeah.
dance for 10 years while also being a
Yeah.
full time mom. Okay.
Yeah.
How old's your
Yeah.
kid?
So I have a daughter, she's 4, and then a 1-year-old boy.
Wow. Okay. How do you balance
Mhm.
being a full time mom and at the same time pursuing a big passion of yours?
Yes. So something that I am super grateful for is I have a really supportive husband. So when I'm teaching, he's able to be with the kids at night. So it works out because he works during the day and then I work at night. And also just I feel like I don't take on too much. So when I'm actually pregnant or just have the baby, I usually take about a year to recover and then I'll come back. So I've had like periods of rest time and then periods of going, just depending on how my kids are doing.
That sounds like one of the most healthiest relationships I've ever heard of. Were your previous relationships that healthy?
So I dated a lot. Like I dated before I met my husband, but I didn't have too many boyfriends because I actually met my husband when I was young. I was only 14 when I met him. And we got married young. So with my other relationships, I didn't have kids or any other responsibility. So I feel like this is something that we figured out while being married. Yeah. But I feel like it is pretty rare because I feel like it's really nice that he's so supportive of that.
And it was a high school sweetheart type of thing? Like y'all met at 14
Yeah.
and going?
Yeah. On and off. But yeah, we met at 14. And it's actually funny because we weren't attracted to each other when we first met each other. We were just purely platonic. It was before our glow ups, as you would say. But then we became really good friends and we dated on and off in high school. Just the dating where you like each other, but you're not like glued down to each other. And then we did date more seriously later when we were a little bit older. But
Did
yeah,
the
we've known each other a
attraction
long
help?
time. The attraction?
Yeah. How did you deal with that, both of you? In
Yeah.
hindsight too.
So at first, like when we first met, it was more just I feel like our souls connected. We understood each other, we could joke, we could talk, like we were very calm and happy around each other. And then it was crazy because the same night when we were like 16, it changed and it flipped. And then we were attracted to each other. And then from then on, it was like it was both, and we actually wanted to date each other, whereas before it was just friendship.
The dating for both of you obviously grew throughout high school, and at some point, both of you became adults and decided to also have kids.
Yeah.
You decided to have kids in a time where our entire generation is deciding not to have kids. So everyone I'm dating is usually on the side of not having kids. Is that
Interesting.
something you and your husband already knew ahead of time, or how did that come up?
Yeah. For both of us, we've always wanted to have kids. And that's something that's always been a desire of mine. Ever since I was a little girl, I would always play dolls. I feel like I have that nurturing side of myself that I always knew I wanted to have kids. And I just think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's the best thing that you could do, honestly. One of the best because it's like a purely selfless thing that you do. And it really changes you as a person and you're really contributing to society because you're adding if you do it right, you're adding a contributing member of society that could do amazing things. But I do recognize that it's not for everybody because for some people, if you're not ready for that, then that's a detriment to your kid instead of helping your child. So if you're ready for it, I think it's beautiful. But if you're not, I don't think it's right.
Another perfectly beautiful and healthy answer coming from you. Now it leads me to ask, how was your childhood?
Yeah, my childhood was really good. I'm super grateful because my parents were very loving to me. And I know that not everybody has that. And whatever I needed, they helped me get it. I've always loved to dance ever since I was little, but it's very expensive. We weren't super rich. And so Like, I cleaned studios and my parents helped me. Like, they helped me do things to help me earn my way, and they helped me get what I needed. And so I feel like I had an abundance of love. And interestingly enough, like, my family imploded later on. Like, a lot of things happened with my parents and relationships. But as far as my growing up, I was super blessed. And I look back on it, I can look back on it and be grateful for what I did have, even if it changed now.
When things imploded with your family, did that ever make you debate and be hesitant against having a marriage for yourself or start having debates of whether marriage would even work out?
So at that point, it's actually pretty recent when that's happened. It's happened within the last 2 years. I've been married for almost 8. So I already chose my spouse and everything, but I recognize that my relationship is different than my parents. And we're talking about marriage and all those things. And I think some people maybe weren't meant to get married in the first place to each other. Like, some relationships are not meant to be. And I am grateful that my parents got together because I want to be here if they weren't. But I do recognize that they're different than me, and those mistakes that they made or different things that happened, I can choose differently. And so it's a good example in a way, even though it's really hard. It's a good example to be like, no, I'm still believing this and I'm still going to try.
Now that we found so many ways where you have healthy responses, healthy questions, healthy narratives, I have to ask, what is your biggest insecurity right now?
My biggest insecurity. Oh, that is a hard question. I feel like I have a little bit of nerves a lot. I get nervous for things. A lot of people might not know that, but I feel like I want to be as good as I can as a teacher, for example. But sometimes I feel like maybe I don't know enough. Maybe I am not explaining it well enough, or I doubt myself, and that gives me the nerve. But then once I start and once I just keep going, it always works out. But I do feel like my insecurity is just not being good enough. Just
When
at,
was the last time you
yeah.
felt not good enough prior to dance?
When was the last time? I feel like this is interesting to say, but every time that I teach, I get nervous. I've been teaching for so long and I still have those nerves. They'll never leave me. But so I feel that a lot, but I feel like I just have to push through it. And it's a thing that I feel it in my stomach and in my gut, and then I just change my self-talk and I'm like, "No, I got this. Go in." And every time I finish, I'm like, "That was fine. That was great. I do have knowledge. I do have experience. I don't know why I'm nervous." But every time, I don't know, probably 2 days ago when I taught, I don't know.
It's good to
Yeah.
see the behind the scenes because I'm in the same dance studio that Erica teaches at, and she is commonly known as the lady in red, the extremely attractive, mysterious, confident dance teacher.
Oh,
So to see the
you.
behind the scenes, yeah, it humbles every human being out there to know that no matter what it looks like on the outside, we are all still human at the end of the day with our
We
own
are.
lives ahead and our own lives behind us. And you just keep pushing forward. Fixing your self talk seems to be the biggest revelation for you. So, your self talk, what do you do in those moments? How have you adjusted your self talk?
You understand this because you're a dancer. When you're dancing with somebody and you mess up, it's a spiral. Like, it can be a spiral where you're like, "Oh, no, I messed up." And instead of being like, "Oh, no big deal," it's, "Oh, no, I'm gonna mess up again. Oh, no, they don't think I'm a good dancer. Oh, no, I keep," and it just can go down. And so I think self-talk is so important for dancers, like 100%. Like, it's as important as the technique is your self-talk. So I think a big thing that I do is I just am more like, I think of it as not a big deal and just, "This is fun. It's fine." And then when you start to feel that, just be like, I just try to tell myself in my mind, "Just calm, be calm, and enjoy it, and just have fun. It's not that big of a deal. You're not gonna die." And I feel like when you do mess up in dance, no one is judging you. Like, it's fine. It's your own mind that just spirals out of control. Like, when I dance with somebody, I feel like I get this a lot where people will dance with me and they'll be, like, so nervous. They're like, "You're judging everything that I'm doing." I'm like, "I'm literally not." Even if you're a beginner and we're shuffling around, like, it's fun. I'm happy that you're here trying. We're all just here trying.
I'm
And when
curious.
you're feeling, yeah, go for it.
I'm curious when someone that's a beginner is dancing with you, what is actually going on in your head as an experienced lady in red dancer, emanation that all men, including me, would feel? What is actually going on in your head as an experienced dancer dancing with a beginner dancer?
Honestly, I'm having a good time because when I see so part of the reason why I'm a teacher is because I love to see what dance does for people. And when somebody's dancing with me and they're a beginner and they're struggling, I'm thinking, this is awesome that you're out here trying. This is how you get better. Because the people that are the ones putting themselves through the fire and going through the nerves are the ones that are going to improve. The people that are not dancing with you and they're just like not trying, they're not going to get better. So I feel like those are the strong ones are the ones that are dancing, even if it's scary, because it's so scary to be a beginner. And you know this, but I'm learning a fully new dance right now. So I'm learning Zouk, and I want to teach Zouk eventually. That's my goal because I love Zouk, but I'm new to it. So there's so many times where I'm messing up and I'm the beginner now. So I put myself like in one aspect, I'm not a beginner. In this aspect, I am. And that's fine.
All of this makes you sound like you are absolutely someone that needed to be a mother to raise
No.
the child in this world. Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
it's inspiring. Yeah, I'm very
Thank
proud
you
of
so
you
much.
for choosing to have a kid. I see a lot of good human beings that would be great parents in this new generation, and a lot of them are making choices to not have kids, and that really sucks. So I'm really
Yeah.
happy to see someone like
Thank
you
you.
that chose to have a kid. You're also
Oh,
very
thank you.
yeah, you're very welcome. You're also very ambitious. You
Yeah.
want to learn a new dance, Zouk, Brazilian dance, which I'm falling in love with too, and
Yeah.
then you eventually wanna teach it as well. What gives you
Mhm.
the audacity to go that brave and that bold? And in a way, that's an inspiration to your child too, so I'll pick back up on that in a little bit, but go ahead.
What gives me the audacity? I'm not afraid to dream. And I think a lot of people grow up and they think, I'm just going to live in this grind and this is my life. And I see it as you're never too old. Some people think your life is going to end when you have kids. That's absolutely not true. I think that's why some people don't have kids is because they're like, I'm not going to be able to have fun anymore. I'm not going to be able to be me. Yes, you can. It's going to be a little bit harder, but you can do it. And so, I don't know, I just think I'm not afraid to dream. When I found Zouk, I, like, fell in love with it, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this, and I don't care how long it takes," because sometimes we put timelines on it. "I'm not there yet, so I'll never get there." No, you're gonna get there, you just have to put in the work, and I don't know, I just think you can do anything you set your mind to if you just put in the work.
That makes you such an entrepreneur almost. Are you somewhat business savvy? Have you learned that from someone, or that's just not
Um,
a
I'm
business?
not. I'm not, but I have the entrepreneur mind as far as I feel like entrepreneurs are very they're not risk averse. Like I feel like I'm willing to take the risk, and that's how entrepreneurs are. The more business people that do the more office thing, they're more like they don't like risk, and I do like risk. So I feel like in that aspect I am, but in other aspects, people have asked me, "Would you start your own studio?" And I wouldn't because I actually prefer to just do the dancing part. I feel like when you own a business, you have to do all the other work. And I'm like, I just want to show up and teach and dance. I don't want to do that other stuff.
You seem to always chase whatever your actual desires and dreams are. That seems to be the most consistent thing in your life. Was that from childhood too, that you are always ready to make sure you prioritized you first so that everyone else can benefit from your personality?
That's such a good question. I don't know. I think my parents helped me with that. You're asking about my childhood. I think that what I was interested in, they were happy for me and they supported me in it. And so I think that helped growing up. Whereas if I wanted to do something, my parents were like, okay, let's try to help you make it happen. So that's something that I want to in turn give to my kids. And so I'm like we were talking about, I'm not afraid to go for it and just see what happens. And I feel like everything that I've gotten in my life is because I just asked and I just tried. Like with DCD, I literally went to their class and I said, "Hey, can I work for you?" And they did not know me at all. And they were like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm Erika. This is my experience." And they're like, "Okay, come to our classes. Yeah, like we'll hire you on." We weren't planning on hiring anyone, but we'll hire you. So you never know unless you just go for it.
I think the biggest thing you can do for your child is we don't really raise our kids in a way. That was a quote I heard from someone. It's they all have different DNA. No matter how much you do right or wrong in parenting, someone will turn out the way they turn out. DNA, that can be like 50% of it, right? And then maybe the other half is how you actually do raise them. In
Mhm.
your household, you are doing so many things that lead by example. Do you have anything that you actually want to instill in your daughter for values that you feel like you're leading, but maybe there might be some pushback on value-wise?
Yeah, I feel like something that's important to me is like moral. I think just honesty, but also like love of God. And I feel like that's pushed back on lately in the world. Like people are a little bit afraid to talk about God or religion is so bad. But I feel like I want my kids to have a faith in God and I want them to know that He's there because He's the reason that we're here. He's there to help us. He leads us. And I know not everyone believes in God. I totally respect that. But for me, that's something that like I really want to instill in my kids is a faith in God.
Have you had any pushback from your 9-year-old about having
Mm.
in her life so far?
So she's actually 4, so she's
Oh,
not
oh,
9 yet. But no, kids are very faithful, extremely faithful. And she prays all the time. So I don't know if later she will. I don't know. Hopefully not, but she's a strong-willed girl. So I feel like there's probably things I'm gonna do that she'll be like, "Okay, I don't want this." But we'll go for it. We'll try.
what might be another value that you really want your kid to have, or maybe something mirrored from your own personality?
Another value. I really want my kids to have a deep love and care for people. And I feel like I truly have that. I don't care if I've met you for 5 minutes. I do care about you. And sometimes people don't believe me with that. They're just like, that can't be real. But I do feel that. And I want my kids to care about people because for me, relationships are everything. And we all need to take care of each other on this earth. Even small conversations that you have with people, like at the grocery store or wherever you are, like those are really important moments where you can be kind to somebody and care about somebody. So I feel like that's one that I really want to instill is that caring and kindness.
And I've been working on realizing what my own values are, because for
Mhm.
actually the majority of my life, I never actually kept track. I never knew what they were. With childhood issues, with self-abandoning relationships, I never paid attention to what my own values are, and it's slowly revealing
Mhm.
itself. And at the top of the list is how genuinely caring are you about others? Because the other part of watching people that act like they care, like my mom, I think she's caring, but there was a lot of disingenuity around it where it was really
Mm.
more about feeling good for herself and hoping that if I do this for them, they'll mirror back love. It's like
Mm.
throwing out love, just wanting, expecting, hoping it to be thrown back at you. With you,
Mm.
I can almost immediately tell it's just you. It's just who you are. It's just genuine.
Mm.
But a lot of that comes with having boundaries around your care. You're not gonna do everything for someone after you meet them for 5 minutes, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there are a lot of people that will do that on the first date.
Oh,
Like, all
yeah.
these hookup relationships is basically what that is. Whether it was your mom showing some care and then expecting something back, now you're mirroring that in a way by
Mm.
making out on the first date even like that. I think that takes away value. I think
Yeah.
physical intimacy immediately takes away value from a first date because no one has earned that
Amen.
from each other. Yeah, so you
It's
seem
too
to
soon.
press
It's
what's
too
wrong.
soon. You're giving too much too soon. Yeah,
Yeah, how did you
agreed.
know that? How did you know that's your value too? Giving too much, giving too early. You seem to have a strong response to this.
I do, yeah. These are really good questions, by the way. I'm glad you're bringing this up. I I always believed in like chastity, so I like didn't believe in like having sex before marriage. That was just something I knew. It was never even an option. So if somebody like and people I feel like it's weird, but people can tell what you're willing to do. Like you give off a vibe. And I don't know why that is, but it's you can look like if you're dating someone and going after them, you can tell. if they're going to do it or not. And I feel like people didn't even try with me because I didn't have anyone cross my boundaries, like as far as like physically, because it was like, if you would, I'm just going to say no, you know?
That's kinda thuggish in a way too, the way you said that. A little
Like,
hood on
no,
you.
it's not going to happen. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of
Not
it. What about for
everyone,
you?
for which part? For
Yeah. You said you have boundaries with that, right? Seems like you have a
new.
strong response to that.
Yeah,
New.
yeah, it's very new. I'm talking about it just got tested, like, a couple days ago. So,
Okay.
yeah, went out with someone. It wasn't like a date or anything. It was just a random hangout session, and my natural response to that, let me give one context. It was a lot of trauma dumping for a straight hour from her.
Mm,
And
interesting.
before, that would have actually been an attractive quality for me. If someone trauma dumps on me for an hour straight during a date, that would have been attractive to me because they're revealing things about themselves. They're bringing themselves almost down to my level by making me feel like I can be vulnerable. Okay, we are the same level. You're not bigger than me. I'm not smaller than you. Most people with insecure attachment styles put people on a pedestal. So when the trauma dump happens, we feel very equal to each other. After
Mm,
that, physical intimacy seems to be like the natural next step, whether we get
mm,
closer, start hugging, start holding hands, or I guess holding hands fine. But
yeah.
like initiating some type of, like you said, the vibe, right? The vibe
Mhm.
that was my entire past is immediately getting to that. And I'm decent at podcasting, right? So I can carry a
Yeah.
conversation, I can
Yeah.
flow a conversation, but I can also manipulate. So that was the past. Manipulate, love bomb. I had no idea I used to love bomb until I like was
Mm.
on a podcast with another co-host and I was like, shit, I'm love bombing.
You're like, "That's me. Oh, snap." Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
recognize it. You're being very humble to admit that.
I'm hoping that's the goal of this podcast is any man or woman listening that has similar upbringings and characteristics that just want to grow. Like that's my entire audience, just people that want to grow. And that's what I'm hoping to get to. I'm
Love
gonna
that.
share my entire journey and, like, anyone paying attention, things are changing. So, that entire time, I did initiate a vibe. I felt it. In my mind, I felt it. In my energy, I felt like I almost wanted to do something, and automatically, I didn't do any of those things. At some point, she mentioned she was emotionally unavailable. That, to me, in the past, would not have registered. That would have been a challenge. That would have been a goal to conquer. Which is now I'm learning that's love bombing, is when you're, like, motivated by that, and then you're the toxic person
Eh.
for being someone else's boundaries. Had no idea.
Mm.
But now
Yeah.
that's starting to be a lot more automatic for me to step back and say, "This is definitely not my person. I know it's a first date, but there are a little too many red flags and boundaries being crossed already."
Mm.
So I
Mm.
did, and I was very proud of myself, and I mentioned it to the therapist, and I was like, "Yeah, that was very empowering." My therapist said, "Yep, that's gotta feel empowering."
So
I'm just saying
cool.
that to growth. Yeah.
So this is a new thing then.
Yeah, it's very new. I'm talking about probably a couple months ago, it would have been different, and in fact, it was, like, there was another chick, like, it's we hung out, and I was healthy in my mind, right? But I was
Mhm.
like, "You know what? I'm in my 20s, like, I still got a few years, like, upper 20s, but I've still got some time to enjoy life while I'm single." So, it's been a big debate. While you're in your upper 20s or even 30s, do you go ahead and enjoy life and hook up and have fun while you're
Mhm.
single just to not hold yourself back? And a lot of healthy people say yes, like just enjoy yourself. Like it's you, do your thing so that you
Mhm.
don't have any regrets later on and you've gotten it out of your system. But I've learned for myself, like that's 100% a boundary for me because I question things. I question my own character. I question their character. And when you get intimate on a first interaction, or even if you've known them for a while, when you get intimate without any actual substance and actual relationship being built with expectations, it spirals also. It's like a dance,
Yeah.
like spirals.
Yeah.
So I automatically fell into it, made out with that person, even after telling that person, hey, we are not going to work out. We have an age gap and I'm not going to pursue you. She was older. I'm not going to pursue you because I would pursue older women before. The whole mommy issue thing was very real. I was a MILF hunter.
Mm.
Oh, that was a thing. And learned that one. So I thought that was healthy. But I still made out with her and she still went for it. And she still said she would see me. So all of it was a yes for both of us. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
And then after that was done, I was like, What type of man do I want to be? I'm sober. I don't drink. I have nowhere to run from my emotions, from my actions. I have nowhere to run. Am I going to deal with this? Because I can't drink my pain away. I can't snort my pain away. I can't do anything to hide against this. Is this going to cause me pain? Yeah, it will, because I can tell she's willing to give up her physical intimacy to get emotional intimacy from me. You could sense those vibes. What is the transaction, right? In those
Yeah,
interactions, the
yeah.
hookup culture, that it's just a transaction.
Oh, just so hard because it's such a I don't know, deep thing. So to have it so casual is so painful. It should only be when you're in love, I feel like.
And
Truly in
I
love.
I agree with you, but how did you develop that view? Because now I'm like, where are your friends? I'm gonna go find them, and I'm gonna hang out with whoever's similar to you. Because that's the thing about toxicity, rough childhood. You are attracted to who you're attracted to, and you end up in environments where it seems like this is the entire dating pool. And I wanna learn, where do people think like you, and where do they hang? Or yeah, your
Oh, yeah.
yeah, how did you have that value where, yeah, intimacy is based from love?
I was taught that in church, actually. I grew up in a very religious family, and yeah, I was taught that sex was in marriage, and I know that's seen as outdated, but it has saved me so much pain, I feel like, because I have only been intimate with somebody that truly loves me, and I know that it's not a transaction because I've thought about this before and I'm like, I can't imagine doing that and then just leaving it. Like, it's such a deep thing, like we're talking about. And I feel like for women, it's very emotional. And for men, it can be emotional, but a lot of times it can also just be physical, like purely just to do it. So that would just hurt your feelings so bad to just be like all in and someone else is just basically using you. So I feel like to answer your question, I learned that from church and just wanting to be right with God, but not saying I judge anybody that does that because that's rare nowadays, but that's at least my view of it.
What values do you appreciate in your husband?
I love so many things about him. I love that he's confident. I love that he's very loyal. He's never been somebody that I'm worried about looking at other women. Like suddenly you get married and everyone else is not attractive. Like you're still going to be attracted to people occasionally, but it's more about who do you love, who are you going to be with, who you're going to be loyal to. And I feel like that to me. And he's honest, he's funny, he's direct, he's not I know that when he says something, he means it. He's not like somebody that beats around the bush. He's very blunt. And I actually like that because if he says something to me, I'm like, "Oh, you mean that. You mean that." And it's there's no BS to look through. So those are some values that I really admire about him. And I think he loves to talk about deep things. I love to talk about deep things. He's not a shallow person. He's very deep. And because he's not shallow, he's had a hard time making friends, which is interesting because he says that some guys like he can't relate. Like he relates more to women because women talk more. And so it's just interesting because I'm genuinely his best friend. Not that he can't get along with people, but
How do you feel about him potentially having female friends?
it's not like he has a bunch of female friends. It's more just like my friends he gets along with. We're all just friends. But I'm not worried about him. Like, I trust him. So if he did have female friends, I wouldn't care. I know
Interesting.
he's in love with me. Yeah.
You know he's in love.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got him wrapped around my finger, so I'm not worried.
It seems to be you value his integrity above all else.
Yeah.
Was that always there?
Yes. Always.
From 14?
Believe it or not.
Wow.
So when he met me, when we actually started dating, so this was more when we were 16, but I'm actually the only girlfriend he ever had because he said, I found you and I wanted you. That's it. So he went on dates with other people, but like as far as kissing somebody or like going on dates, and that's so rare. Like I didn't expect that of him, but like he just was ready to commit.
You don't seem like a prude either. So I mentioned that because the church, the chastity, all the stereotypes would lead you to be a certain person in a Disney Channel movie or something, right? But you are your own human. You're an amazing human. I'm getting to know you
Thank
over
you.
this. Yeah, the few minutes we shared talking in the dance studio. Everything about you is so genuine. Is that
Thank
DNA for
you.
you?
Thank you. I feel like we were talking about it, but I've always, I don't know, felt caring towards people. And I don't know, I just love people. I think I was born with that. But I also have good people in my life. And I think, like what you were saying, there's nature and nurture. And so I'm super grateful that I had good people to nurture me.
What are other things you value about yourself besides those elements? So your own values and your own characteristics, what are those?
Things that I value about myself, I value that I can make people feel comfortable and bring peace to people. Because I've had one of the nicest things that I've been told is that, like, when I come and join the group or whatever, that I like make them feel peaceful. And that was like the sweetest thing that's ever been said to me, because I was like, oh, I want that. I want to be that person. I want to make people feel good. I want to, like, every interaction that I have, I want people to leave feeling uplifted and happy and safe, no matter who you are. So I think I value that, I think, the most.
That was a beautiful answer that really hit me personally. I have been asking my friends to write me a list of things they've valued about me since they've known me. And these are friends that have known me from the times I've been doing drugs, just in depth, like all the wrong things on the outside. They've known me since then. And I didn't even realize I have a good core group of friends that have loved me from then to now. And their level of love has never changed. And one of my friends, I was bragging to him about like how great my work is going, my health, just everything in life is going so much better. And he looks at me, he's, hey, I mean this in the most positive way, but there is nothing that has changed about you. I was like, what the fuck do you mean?
You're
I was
like, I hope there is good.
like, I spend money on this too, 150 every week in therapy. What do you mean? And that triggered like a whole research development into me. So I started asking all my friends, like, wait, you guys have loved me for certain qualities that I've always had. And in therapy, what I'm working on right now is reconciliation with myself, with my old self, and not hating the old me and not fighting that, which is still me. So I
Mhm.
asked a bunch of them for some feedback on what made them love me and have me as a friend from then to now. And one of them emailed me back with a whole list, and a lot of it was somewhat triggering because he talked mainly about how I was a caring, genuine person that people felt safe, yeah, around
Mm.
to
Mm.
reveal themselves, to be comfortable, and how I was never angry, no matter how many reasons I had to be angry. All those good
Aw.
qualities. Yeah, all those good
Mhm. That was
qualities you
always part of you. Yeah.
it was a part of me, but as I was reading that email, I was in public just reading that email and it felt good, but I felt so triggered. And the trigger was I'm still looking at that person that they're describing as someone that wasn't genuine about their care. Because when I would have someone feel safe and comfortable around me, I was pushing my own boundary. I was letting those conversations go on for way too long. I was letting them dump on me. I was letting it's like overflowing. Hey, what's wrong in your life? Tell me. It was something I was chasing to bring people to my level. So that's how I kept
Mm.
viewing my past is that every good characteristic you're describing in me, I hated it because of the boundaries I didn't put around it.
Interesting.
And yeah, and now the way you're saying it is making me realize, oh, let's step back for something that you really can't take away. You do make people feel peace when you're around them. You do make people feel comfortable. That's something no matter how many boundaries you had or not had, that's something you can't even put a filter around. You can't even trash. It's like
Mhm.
its own aura. So that's why when you said that, it really hit me pretty deeply. That's just something
Good.
you can't trash at all.
I'm glad that did, because you were mentioning that you're trying to make reconciliation with yourself. And I think it's important to realize that 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 was real, that people did feel that way. And you don't need to, like you said, trash it and say, no, it wasn't. I was being selfish, but take that as genuine and be, yeah, I did make them feel safe. I did help them. And I think that sometimes it's hard to look at your past, and I've done things in my past that I regret, and it like keeps me up at night and I feel so bad, or and I feel like it's important to realize, like, everything that you do and go through helps you to change and be who you are today. And so It's okay to look at your past and make peace with it and say, I'm different now. And all of that brought me to where I am today.
That's one thing about age is our parents were right. People older than us while we were growing up were right that give it time, survive, don't get out of here yet, and something great will happen. And in hindsight, you will appreciate even this moment in your life. I can't fight that truth anymore. Being 27 now, I can't fight that truth. Almost 28, I just can't fight that truth anymore. It's so real. And it's one of
Yeah.
those things you just won't even believe until it's happened. It's a big message to the audience. If you're watching and you're in a tough place, I promise you, just stick to it. Stay alive. You're doing your best.
Amen.
And if you are listening to this, you're definitely doing your best. It was 5 stars. But the biggest thing in my head and in a lot of people's head right now is no matter how good their life is going, how many things they're taking care of in their life, it seems like their actual love life is pretty important to them. At some point, you can't deny that even if everything's going well, it's like, oh, it'd be nice if I had a partner. Even if you're doing your best to meet your own needs. How did you choose your spouse?
I chose him because I realized that I didn't want to live without him. And we broke up and we got back together and I broke up and we got back together. And at the end of the day, so my husband's very persistent. So every time that I would break up with him, he would still try. And so I felt like I never really lost him. But when he actually did, I was like, wait a second. I do love you so much. I don't want to live without you. So I feel like for me, it was realizing that he really was my best friend and somebody that I wanted to continue on with. Because at the end of the day, you want to be with somebody that you actually like to hang out with and talk to. And marriage is not all fun and games. You're going to see each other in pain. You're going to see each other mad. Like, to this day, he's the only person that I am 100% guards down with. Even in my family, my parents, siblings, everything, nobody's seen every part of me, but he has. And I feel like because I can trust him because he's my best friend. And when he did see me mad or when he did see me at my worst, he didn't run away. He was there with me, you know? And when he and you and I can't live without you, simply put.
This question is for all the men out there. Erica, when you were mad, when you were upset, how did he even know what to do? What was it that he actually knew what to do to heal your own self?
Listen, let me tell you guys what to do, okay? If a girl is crying and upset, just hug her. Don't try to fix her problem. Just be there and just say, I'm here for you. I'm listening. I get you. And if she's mad at you, really listen and be like, you know what? Be humble enough to say, you're right. If she is making sense, you don't have to fight it just to fight it. You can say, you know what? You're right. I'm going to try to do better. And then you can say your piece and she can say, you're right. Hopefully she'll say that. But like, really, sometimes I'm speaking for myself right now, but I think a lot of women are like this. When you're mad or like struggling, you say, go away. You say, leave me alone, go away, get away from me. Blah, blah, blah. But you really, what you want is your inner child just wants to be hugged and just wants to be loved. And so don't leave. Just hug and say, I'm here for you. I got you. That's my tip. Try it.
What was it? Try it. What was it that he did that led to those breaks? What was it that he did that giving him?
Okay, that's exposing. What really got me was he was too clingy to me. He liked me so much that so this is high school, okay, so we're going way back, but like every team that I was on, he joined it. Every choir that I was on, he got on it. He got really jealous when I talked to other guys, and I wanted to be open. I wanted to be free. I didn't want to be in a relationship in high school. And so because he was so clingy to me and like jealous, that turned me off. Even though I liked him as a person, it was like, I just need space. And so I feel like that was the biggest thing for me is like just the clinginess. But as far as him and his character, I always loved him in that way. But so that's what it was. And like I said, when he finally did pull back, it gave me space to say, do I really want him? And I had dated other guys. So there was periods where I dated a lot and there was nobody like him that like brought out every part of me. You know how there's certain people that you're around and you're like, I can be myself. That's what it was. I felt like I could be myself And no one else that I had dated was like that same feeling of him being home. To any of you guys listening, if you're being too clingy, pull back a little bit. She'll realize that she wants you. She might. Just don't be too forceful.
That is something that would actually potentially be a trigger for me. If I'm really close with you, I wouldn't sign up for all the classes. I probably wouldn't want to be around you all the time. So that's just me now. I value my independence. But it would
Yeah.
scare me, let's say if you and I were together and you said something like that, hey, you're being too clingy, you're attaching too much, like pull back a little bit. That would throw up all the sensors in my head, like, she doesn't
Mm,
love me, something's going wrong, and even if she does love me, enough things are going wrong in her head where something will she's gonna abandon, like, this is abandoned
mm,
ship time is what would go off it.
mm.
So, what's the reality, and how would you communicate that to someone where they have an attachment style like me?
So that's a good question because for you, for example, it seems like you've had experiences that you had in your childhood that made feel this way. And so it's you would need to be talked to a different way. Like for my husband can handle I don't know how to explain him, but he doesn't get offended easily. And that doesn't mean that I want to hurt him, but it just I can just be like, "No, stop." He can take it, but he didn't have what you went through. So I think that just for all women listening, being as gentle as possible in any situation and not never knowing what actually people are going through.
Interesting. That's not an answer I was expecting at all. So,
What were you expecting?
I don't even know what I'm expecting. Something goes up in my head where that made me feel unworthy, right? It made me feel unworthy. Let's just say if it was you, it'd be like, I'm not worthy of your love. I'm not worthy of you adjusting. Like your answer was, if it was someone like me and it had all the chemistry and all those characteristics there that you valued, you would adjust to how you communicate. And I was like, "Oh my god, that woman's really gotta love me. I have to be worth something to her," is the other wounds that, get brought up is the worthiness.
I feel like you are worthy, like 100%, and everybody is. And I'm sorry if I like worded that in a bad way, like I would adjust or whatever. It's not. I feel like just people go through different things. Like people go through different things, and I feel like everybody, like I said, is should be treated with gentleness and understanding no matter who you are or what you've been through. Because if I don't sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm just saying before I knew you, because we just met in dance class for 5 seconds, I would never know that you had a hard childhood or that you had issues with drugs. There is no way I would have thought that. So that's why I think just err on the side of understanding and being like gentle with people no matter who you are.
Yeah, that is a very unique and original interaction I just had with you. I don't think I've ever had that interaction. And when moments like this happen, where somebody shows you a different way of thinking, a different way of being treated, it just opened up a whole new like wormhole for me at this point. It's, oh, there are absolutely people out there that can adjust to how you are based on your wounds, and you're still worthy. So I'm
Yes.
processing right now. You just made a big impact podcast.
Good. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad it did.
You had a question on here that says, "Have you ever been called fake?" So let's explore the tea
Let's
on
explore the
these.
tea.
Yes.
I actually have. I've actually had this is interesting, but a lot of friends turn against me. A lot of interactions with women, especially, not men as much, but women where they don't believe that I'm genuine or they just say I can't be your friend anymore. And it's like extremely hurtful because I give so much of myself and they almost can't believe like that I'm being really genuine, but I am.
It could be intimidating who you are, like, even while I'm processing what you just said about that, and then the friends that have called you fake and that they don't believe that you're being genuine. Like, when you say I'm worthy, what makes me worthy?
What makes you worthy? Like you specifically.
I guess, in a way. Yeah, yeah, since we're talking as
Yeah.
friends, yeah.
Yeah, just being open, just you being a human being on this earth. Every single person has inherent worth. And not one person is better than another person. Not one person. We were talking about pedestals and how sometimes you put someone on a pedestal. There is nobody that is better or worse than you. We're all on a journey here, and we're all just trying to move up. And I think about it like a ladder. Like we may be on different like rungs of the ladder, but we're all trying to move up. And so that's why you shouldn't compare your journey or your experience to another person, because you're on your own path and you're on your own journey. So I feel like you're just inherently worthy because you're here, you're a human, you're capable. And like from what I've discussed with you on this podcast, like you're somebody that's very interested in becoming better, and you're very genuine in wanting that. And I think that's pretty amazing.
I love that so much. You have answers like that prepared for someone like me on a whim, obviously not prepared. And you send that to those friends that you have some tea with. How could they not respond back with some genuinity also? What happened? Like when you communicated and you tried to save those relationships, because I'm assuming they were a priority to you and you tried, right? What were the effects of that?
So this is a tender story for me, but I might as well share it. One of my best friends like turned against me, and she didn't even tell me the reason. And it like just hurt me so bad. And I tried to talk to her in person, and she wouldn't do it. And we didn't talk for months and months. And I finally just had to like let her go, because the more that I tried, the more angry that she got. And so I just let her go. And it felt worse than an actual breakup, because she was somebody that I was friends with when I was like 13. And the crazy thing is, she actually came back and called me out of the blue, and she said, "I'm so sorry. Like I was going through my own stuff and I put it on you." And I forgave her completely. Because like we're talking about, everybody, I don't know why I'm feeling emotional, but like everybody goes through their own stuff. And sometimes they put that on you, but it's not you. And so that's why like we just need to be gentle with people, because
You
like,
having Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. You need to be gentle with people, because maybe they're wounded by other things and they're placing that on you, but that's not your fault.
Yeah, I'm getting emotional, like, hearing this too. You having the patience, understanding, and then giving the space, and then respecting yourself enough to go ahead and let it go, allowed her to find her own searching, to find her own healing, and come back to you and tell you the truth of what was actually going on, that it was a lot of projection. And in a way, I heard this quote recently too, where we are always projecting. Every one of us is always projecting. Some are healthy, some are not. In a way, you might be projecting the love of God, is what you're probably projecting, along with so many things that are already inside you. But does that feel
Mhm.
accurate too?
You mean that I project onto people God? What do you mean?
When I say like you're projecting the love of God into everyone, I think that's where maybe some of your love is coming from. But that seems to be a DNA with you. But that's one example of something that could be it.
Yeah.
You know, like we're always
Yeah.
projecting in some way. For you, it just seems like DNA. But does God have a role with how you project sometimes?
I think so. I think he does for sure. I want to become more like Christ. I want to. I'm never gonna get there. Maybe someday in a long time, but trying to just follow his example is what I strive to do. I don't know if that answers the question.
It does in a way. Like if I analyze and internalize that, I see what you mean by that. You just got to have
Mhm.
curlier. That's all. That's all you got to do.
I need to have the Jesus hair a little bit more, but yeah. Yeah, but projecting for sure. I feel like with even our insecurities, we could project them and just be like, they're probably thinking that this and this. And we project onto other people what they're thinking when that's not even real. That's why it's important to try not to, in a way, because you just never know what people are thinking, and you'll never know.
Yeah, that would be as challenging as trying to figure out what to do for a woman when she's upset with you. But we might have
But you
solved it.
ask. You could just ask, just
Yeah.
communication.
It really comes down to communication and actually just sitting, listening, being there, and comforting someone.
Yeah. I feel
And
like,
and you like you
sorry.
said, it was like your inner child, like, needing that almost, right? And that's how we
Mhm.
want to be held and responded to.
Yes, amen. I notice that a lot with my daughter, because when she cries, she gets really mad and she'll say, "Go away." But then if I reach for her, she'll reach for me and she'll want to hug me. And so I'm like, that is 100% how I am. Like I'm saying one thing, but I'm actually meaning, come over here. I don't want you to leave. Like even just being in the room with me, I want you in the room so I can just know like I'm cared about.
What part of having kids made you feel like it was the right decision? And were there any things in like my I guess I'll start here. My biggest debate with having kids right now is I'm worried that I am trying to get something out of having kids. Am I trying to reparent myself? Am I trying to find the perfect wife, i.e., the perfect mother figure to also watch her raise kids and then maybe reparent myself in that way? I've
Mhm.
mentioned to my therapist, he's, yep, be careful about that. And I'm like,
Mm.
that is what scares me. And he also said, your awareness on that changes things. I'm being a little kinder to myself that, like, I obviously want a family, but I need to be very careful about that. So, is there any part of your life with kids or without that you feel a little bit questionable on whether this is genuine, whether it's coming from the right place, intent?
I don't ever question my intent because I feel like when like having kids was a very specific decision for us, and I know that's not the case for everybody, quote unquote. All babies are wonderful, but you know what I'm saying? Like things happen. That's just life. For us, it was very intentional, and we had quite a few years together before we had kids. And so it was like when I had my kids, I knew that like my life was going to change. And I knew that I wanted to be there for them, and it was like I was prepared for it. So when it was happening, it was not a surprise, it was not a shock, and when things got hard, I didn't feel like I wanted to run away because I knew that it was gonna be hard at times, but the reward completely outweighed I guess yes, you give up so much. You give up your body, your time, like, your energy. I'm exhausted by the end of the day, you don't sleep as much, but, like, the love that they have for you and the influence that you can have and the joy that they bring you it's unmatched, like, 10 out of 10, amazing, so, I don't know. I know I went off on a tangent, but I've never questioned my intent, like, I know that I'm not doing it just for me, although I think, to your point, you can enjoy having kids and you can be excited and you can be excited to reparent because maybe you had a horrible childhood and you want to be different. And I don't think that's a bad thing. As long as you genuinely want to care for your kid, I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
It's very rare that I freeze up during a podcast too. Erica is the co-host we've had that isn't our normal co-host, and she did that. So I'm happy I with you. You have been absolutely amazing on this podcast. In the beginning, you said that we all think that having kids will ruin your life where you can't do all the things you want to do. And you're like, you had a very strong response. You're like, no, absolutely you can. Where is that coming from? Where is the proof? Where is the data on that for you?
Proof and data is that I'm doing it. Like, I want to be a dancer and I've always loved it. That's my passion. I'm not going to give it up. I'm going to be 95 doing the splits. Like, yeah, you just do what you can do. And it's okay. It's okay to take breaks and rest for things. There's times and seasons. So I'm not always doing everything that I want to do. Like, when I'm pregnant, some people dance when they're pregnant. When I am, I don't really feel that desire. So I calm down during that time. But I don't know, like just do what works for you and don't give up on you and your passions because you could easily just be like, I have kids, so I'm done. But just make it happen.
The ways you've adjusted, the ways you don't even beat yourself up, pregnant or just circumstances changing, wanting to take a break, heal, or relax. Seems like you don't beat yourself up for it. If you have an intent, you don't question it. Those are extremely healthy things that you're inspiring, and it's going to inspire a lot of people in the audience for sure. Is there anything you feel like you have a message that before you die, you wanted to be on video as one of your legacy?
Oh, oh my gosh, that is like such a big question. I just want people to know that they're loved and that everything's gonna work out and whatever you're worried about, it's all good. Just keep going and just find joy in life. Don't take things so seriously. That's what I'd say.
Hard not to take time to process every gem you're dropping. Where are people like you hanging out? Where are
I don't know. Thank you for saying that though. You're so sweet. You're a gem too. You're so deep. I love that.
Thank you.
I always crave good conversation. So thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate you accepting and responding eloquently. It's like you're eating a good meal. I love like those good conversations where you're just like, finally, I'm getting some meat
Yeah, it's a big desire, and I am someone that does question my intent. So even this podcast, like the big reason it didn't happen for so long, even though I did little test runs of it, the reason I was never consistent was this desire for a conversation with an actual stake, like perfect. I wasn't sure how much of it was me trying to feel equal. And honestly, it's just like a part of it just felt like brokenness. And in therapy,
Mm,
that's something I'm learning is you're not broken. You're just
mm,
adjusting. You're
yeah.
managing the ways you are. And what a beautiful way to manage like this podcast. I'm so glad it was like a conversation that was fruitful for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It inspires me that the amount of guests I've had on, the flow of this podcast, like how well it goes, how well it gets received, and how much the guests enjoy it. It's okay. I found an expression, and if even if it is a way I'm managing something within me, and I'm like almost like feeling a trigger as I'm saying this right now. This is something that will be a part of my legacy, like this being on video.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
for
hoping
real.
grandkids, this will be
Yeah,
that, and that's inspiring.
absolutely. I'm glad that you're doing something good, adding value to the world. And it is a creative expression, but it's also something that's helping people. So it's absolutely a great legacy to leave.
The only part you suck for is not being able to tell me where people like you hang out and where they are.
Oh, I honestly, I don't know. I feel like there's so many good people everywhere. And like everywhere you look, I feel like most people are good. And if you just have those deep conversations and are interested in people, like they'll show you their goodness and you can grab good things from every single person.
I think you're absolutely right about that. What we actually think of in our heads ends up being what we attract, right? Like it's always been
Mhm.
said. It's always like the
Yeah.
tried and true saying, but it is reality. As I'm changing as a person myself, things are changing about even if it's not necessarily the attraction and where I'm around and the quality of people. I can't deny that it is changing, like, meeting you through the dance scene, like, that's quality for me. My other co-host, Amanda, I also met her in the dance scene. So, it's like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm slowly meeting, that quality. It doesn't necessarily have to be through the dance scene, but I think things are
Hmm.
adjusting considering it's only been, like, 4, almost 5 months, and these are major impacts in my life because throughout the past 10 years of my life, I've only had a handful and nothing has changed as far as who my actual friends are,
Mm.
and this expression has been changing to where I have meaningful events like this with people that I genuinely respect and not necessarily on a pedestal, but without even having to have a manipulative conversation, I feel equal, but not in a I'm equal because I'm broken. I feel more equal with you because of the love you're expressing, the sympathy, the empathy, like all the care you're expressing is what's making me feel equal. More than
Mm.
anything, like that human
Oh,
characteristic,
good.
just human. Yeah.
Being human.
Weird
Amen.
switch.
Yes. And you should be confident in that. Absolutely.
That is exactly why I'm processing my values and pursuing this podcast no matter what, no matter how many views, and you bastards better share this episode, by the way. I don't know why I always talk to my audience like that. I cuss them out.
Just cut them out.
Yeah.
We
It
love
is
you.
how
We
I
love
would be
you.
in real life, honestly. Like, that's my type of playfulness.
That's funny.
Um, timing wise, I need to cut it soon, but I can't help but ask you this next question. So you are religious. You are Christian?
Yes.
Is your husband Christian as well?
Yes, he is. He's agnostic. So, yeah. He believes in
Agnostic?
God. Mhm.
Oh, interesting. But is he reading the Bible, going to church with you? Like,
Yeah. He loves theology. So, he loves to study and but he's not like a person that would say, I only read the Bible. He reads a lot of scripture, a lot of different things he's willing to explore, open up. And he loves God. He just is not like into one specific religion.
and how does that work for you? Because before I let you answer that, we're
Mm.
always internalizing things, we're always projecting. So, part of me asking that question, and I tell this to my audience all the time, our questions are really just things that we want to be asked about, also, right? In a way, my projection was I'm not religious. I am like agnostic, also. Like, I believe
Yeah.
there's something, but I'm so open to all religions. Like, the other day while I was at work, someone was like, can I pray for you? I'm like, absolutely. That sounds
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And they both prayed for me, and I was in the moment with that, and that's it's I found so many people that have religion in their life that are living purely, and their
Hmm.
intent feel if it's genuine or not, or if they're just trying to push something on me for whatever agenda there is.
Yeah.
So, The part that I'm internalizing and almost like another trigger is like, what if I found someone like you and religion was important to her? I would not become Christian because of that. That would be my boundary.
Right.
I'd be open to it, but I
Yeah.
have my own belief. Yeah, like agnostic belief. I haven't even really put a title on what I believe, but it'd be something like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
curious how you adjusted and how you'd process that.
So it's interesting because we both grew up in the same religion, but then we've both changed over time. And so, like, even I, even though I'm still in my same religion, I don't agree with every single thing. I'm still open to a lot of different things. I'm like you, where I'm not specifically saying, like, this is it. I'm just saying I'm open. Like, I'm feeling, I'm understanding, like, God is in a lot of places. God has helped a lot of people, or even other things that people believe. And for me, it's not a big deal if we don't believe all the same things. It's not a big deal if he's a different religion than I am, because honestly, he's a great person and it doesn't matter to me. And luckily, we've both changed. But I know for some people that would be a huge deal. For me, not. So
What if
I think
he
there's people out
was
there. If he was atheist, I feel like that would be harder because it's such a big part of me. But there's so much of life. He would still be the same person that he is. I would still love him for him. And it wouldn't be a topic of we're getting divorced over this. It would be like, oh, that's fine. I'm going to do this. Are you okay if I take the kid? Yeah. Okay.
That is another one that I would process heavily because that is another original experience I just had with you. Considering how important religion is to you, considering how important going to church is for you, for your kid to have that value, to have that characteristic, and how important God is in your life, that you would still be so accepting because of all the other things that are important in your partner and just having that open mind. It's like almost a modern thing, right? Where you have to have an open mind. I mean, how can you not? There's so much proof and data. There's so many things you can't deny. And you combine hope and you combine the love of God with all of that. It makes sense that someone like you is out there and giving such a wonderful relationship and raising such a good family.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. I really do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean it. And it seems like a brag fest on you for this entire podcast, but this is
I
the
know
reason
you've been
she's
so
on it.
sweet. You're
This
so
is the
sweet.
reason I brought you on.
I'm like, oh my gosh. No, but I feel like when I met you, I was like, we could have a great conversation. We could talk for probably 5 hours about so many things because you're so open. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for making the time. We will
Absolutely.
end it on that note. Everyone, please share this podcast. I need some sort of reciprocation that you guys are actually enjoying this, that I have actual listeners. So please, for my own mental health, I am begging you, Lord help me. Erica, anything you want to say for your audience that you might share this
um,
with?
I hope you listen and enjoy it and share it because this guy is awesome, doing a great thing. Thank you for having me on.
Listen to everything Erica just told you. Okay, deuce.
All right.